sticks or some sort of a bar that I mentioned in email. And for the hardcore, if you want to go out or go to your Amazon or what have you and get one of these exercise bars, this is about 9 pounds, but you'd only want something, certainly no more than 5, maybe 2 that you could use. So that's something you can think about, but I thought, given that everybody's not creating home gyms, that something as simple as a broomstick or unscrewing the handle of a broomstick would be fun, and also maybe evoke visions of flying around the room on one's broomstick. So we've got some sort of long dowel or tube that's fairly stiff. And if you don't have something, you'll be able to at least gain partial credit by just having a strap. So let's get started. And you'll also want your trusty towel, which you can now either sit on or just put somewhere near you. And today, of course, we're working on the shoulders. We've covered the hips a little bit, but we can't forget about them. Even as we sit, just going back and forth a little, feeling the 2 elbow calves going from side to side. And in these playful movements, coming off center line, just starting to engage the core. So let's inhale forward and exhale round back. As we've done before, you can put your hands on your hip capsules and feel them sliding, gliding, releasing in the front here, and then tensing. And just become aware of the musculature around the hips. You can switch sides. And so the muscles around the joint capsules are hopefully helping the mobilization. And then if we put the hands on the knees, settle the hips, and take a few breaths to not necessarily disengage our awareness from the lower body of the hips, but just to place it there in a way that is relaxed and aware. So sometimes you have to mobilize so that you can, again, not disinherit, but to dissolve tension. And again, if we go a little more dramatically from side to side, putting our fingertips and pretending we're a child's toy, we can lift the knees a little, engaging the psoas, engaging the core, and just feeling. When things go off the center line is when we're in jeopardy of potential disaster. And then coming back to center, hands on tops of the legs, breathing and feeling that work. Pretty easy. And now let's bring the shoulders into this as we take the hands to the knees and we draw the shoulders and the chest forward, and then we go back. So now start to pay attention as the hips stir the pot. The hips are propelling us in simple extension, flexion. That the shoulders spread open as you come forward, spine arches, and then exhale. We go back and round the spine. So the spine in its position in either curl, where the shoulders are pulled forward, or an arch, can complement the joint capsules. For example, what if we sit back for a second in our curl and just bring the arms forward with the shoulder blades protracted. So feel them spreading, you can nod your chin down. Now inhale, and the rowers will love this, when you imagine pulling the elbows back as your chest comes forward. shoulder blade tips come together, and exhale, sink back. Inhale and exhale. Now you're essentially flapping your wings, feeling the glide of the shoulder blades as they come together on the inhale and as they move apart. And if you were at a gym, of course you'd have some sort of weird pulling bar, but we don't need that. If we just do this with breath awareness and no weight at all except the mere weight of the muscles and the bones in the arms, multiple repetitions will soon perhaps get you tired, or at least aware of these muscles and how they move the shoulders. Let's put the hands down again. Take a breath to release. And then if we had our strap and took it into the hands like so, and inhale, start to lift it up, and exhale, tap down. Inhale. Now we're just lifting the arms up. So if you're doing physical therapy for shoulders, gently pull against the strap, trying to keep the shoulders from either launching forward as we had or pulling too far back, just anchoring the shoulder capsules into the mainframe of the body. This would be simple use of the deltoids. But what if we want to take it further and we come all the way up on inhale, and then we exhale, come down. So this is what we're doing in our sun salutations, our warrior ones. And see how it feels for you if you just keep the spine rigid. Inhale up. You get caught about here. So if we now take the spine into complementary patterns, inhale, lift up. Just arch a little bit without the mid-spine. Lift the chest, open the armpit ribs, and then exhale, round a little bit. And now we're starting to, at least a little bit, feel the same action we had moments ago without a strap, where as we inhale and lift the strap, the shoulder blades are tracking a little bit together, maybe not as much because of the arm position. And as we exhale, the shoulder blades are rounding a little bit apart, maybe not as much because we bound the arms. So let's just do this, inhaling, tilting forward, arching a little bit, and then exhale. Some people with their fluid spines can cheat in terms of allowing the muscles around the shoulders to work, because they can come into a big arch like so and almost drop back into a back bend. So we want to be careful if you have a shoulder injury that a simple isolated exercise can be useful in strengthening, whereas consolidating the movement with the spinal actions is to be done to consolidate everything. Okay? So what if we come up with that strap inhale, and then exhale, start to pull our elbows down, straps behind our head. And then inhale, we press up, and exhale, pull down. And just start to play with this. Again, this is probably reminding you of something at the gym. We press up, you can look up, inhale, and then exhale, nod the chin forward. Strap touches the back of the head, or maybe just the top of the head. And you're pulling out against the strap a little bit, and don't overdo this because you're soon going to muscle exhaustion, and all the muscles supporting around the shoulders, the shoulder blades now are working back a little bit the rhomboids. And again, we can use our breath. Inhale, a little bit lift and open, exhale a little bit around. Let's stay here behind the head or just over it. Inhale. Now we're going to start to rotate on exhale. Inhale in the center and rotate. Now what's going on? One shoulder moving back, the one behind you and the other one closing. And this is one of the other patterns of the shoulders that we're going to play with in our twists. Again, these simple exercises with the strap should be warming up, firing up a lot of the muscles around the shoulder capsules. So if you release for a second, relax the arms. Even though I've done years of yoga, I don't want to do too much of that because my shoulders are now singing, and if they sing too much, it might be a bad song. So just feel the stimulation around the shoulder capsules. And unfortunately, sitting, if we're doing a lot of work at the computer, what does that do? It's going to take us into this forward pattern of the shoulder. So if we do a standard twist now for a second and rotate our chest to the right, put the left hand on the opposite knee, and plant the right fingertips behind. Inhale, lift up. Imagine that sense that you are lifting the strap up to the sky, even though the arms are down now. And then a second pair of arms launching the collarbones open. And now press back a little bit, lean back into it, drop the head. So we're creating some torque. And in this torque, not too much, we're opening up the back shoulder capsule and we're strengthening and wrapping this front shoulder capsule. Let's take that right hand up and over and then just start to lean over to the opposite side. And we can take the upper hand and skull and start to open up that tricep on that right arm. So as I've said in the past, it's often useful in asymmetry to identify the closed or the aponic side, in this case the left side, that shoulder's hugging in, you're engaging the lat muscle down toward the hip. And then the chronic side where you're trying to open, extend, let's come up, release, just feel that for a breath as we stretch the connective tissue. And then let's rotate left, hooking the right fingers, opposite knee. Lift the chest as if you were taking your second set of invisible arms and lifting the strap up. Maybe the head even comes up. Then exhale, remember the closed pattern or the exhale pattern. Chin down a little. And if there's a wall behind you, press your shoulder blades against it. So you're pulling with this front arm, and that's going to strengthen the shoulder capsule on the front side. Again, some nice work. It's not just for show. And that allows the back shoulder, left shoulder to open, open, open. You don't want to torque the spine too much. You're just finding a balance of tension. And reach that back arm up and over. We're going to lean to the right. And just stretch and open that upper shoulder. If you had some injury or tension, static poses might be enhanced. This little gentle movement of the arm. And if you're working with old, kind of rusty injuries, static holds, like this one where I'm grabbing my skull, I'm wrapping the lower part, the right part of my body from shoulder to hip, and opening on the exhale, the upper arm, the tricep. And then release. And then, of course, we have Garuda Asana. So if we come into an eagle wrap, now that we've taken the arms up into a side bend, we'll bring them into a little more protraction and just lift on inhale and exhale bow. And again, we could do this in isolation. Most yoga classes are having you just pin the pose, so to speak. Or we could start to flex the spine, leaning back, rounding, pulling the elbows into the belly button. And then inhale, rock forward. Just feel the shoulders move, try to move. They're straight-jacketed a little bit so that we can stretch the fascia in the extensors in the back, shoulder blades, maybe even the top of the neck. Let's switch. Simple warm up. If you can't get to Garuda Asana, you just have your hands on your opposite shoulder. Again, the isolated motion, which the physical therapist might give you, is lifting up and then drawing down, or even holding a static pose. This is fine, but it's nice, I think, to integrate with the spine, exhaling, pulling the arms and the Garuda Asana in, and then inhale. And we're not trying to torque the shoulder too much, we're just stretching the back fascia on the shoulder fascia. Let's release and come to hands and knees. Have a towel handy and have it beside of your mat. So let's come to place the hands under the shoulders and the knees under the hips. And just take a moment here to drop your tailbone down and to relax your neck a little and try not to have too much weight on the hands and the shoulders. So if you come forward a little bit, you'll feel that pressure coming into the shoulders. But if you just pull back a little bit, you tone your core, drawing into Uddiyana Bandha, you'll find that there's not necessarily much pressure on the shoulder capsules here. Looking down between the hands. And then let's inhale, look forward, and exhale round. So as you move in this pattern of cat and cow, which you've done quite a few times before in your yoga career, I want you to feel the shoulders and how much they're pitching forward as you round, and the protracting, they're separating apart, and how much they retract. Again, most people have a pattern of the shoulders forward syndrome. So if we just sit back a little bit and take our hands and spiral them out so the thumbs point forward, can we work with the cat and cow this way? Does this allow us to feel slight external rotation, the upper arm bones? So we can't get as far into a curl, but we might be able to come into this arch. And if we come into a downward dog here and bend the knees, see if you can feel the spreading open of the collarbones, the anchoring of the shoulder capsule. And you can straighten the legs on exhale and inhale, bend the knees. I like to look toward my thumbs on inhale and exhale, so we're replicating cat and cow in downward dog. Come down to hands and knees again. And let's bring the knees together and just, for the sake of the hips, start to do the hula hoop with the hips. And as we do this, we can pretend we're a cat or something, and just to challenge yourself for the day, can you, as you roll right, can you lift your left hand? As you roll left, you lift your other hand. Could be a simple side to side, could be the hula hoop. The point is, I could do this maybe even on my fingertips. And we did a lot of hip work on Monday, which may have helped the hips, but also made them a little bit tired. So we're just moving the hips a little bit and then stabilizing back to the center and feeling the equal pressure, the stabilization of the hips. So let's do something simple now for the shoulders and slide the left toes back. Keep the toes tucked under. Take a big inhale to look forward, and exhale, start to look down, bend your elbows a little bit, just 2 inches, like you're going to drop your face down to the ground. Inhale, press, spreading the fingers, feeling the shoulders and collarbones open up like cat pose. Exhale, cow, and just dip, bend the elbows. As you do this very simple exercise, it's like a low push-up or the first notion. I want you to keep that grounded shin, left shin, really pulled into the midline and pushed down, so we're not really working a lot of strength in the arms. And let's switch sides. Left toes and leg back. Inhale, lift chest, and exhale. Just the first notion or the motion of the dip. And again, feel that lower shin, the right shin anchored. And all we're doing is starting to move in asymmetry with the legs and trying to keep things honest with the shoulders. And let's sit back in Virasana and take a break. Let's take our straps again. And I know you're all wanting to get to your broomsticks, but we're getting there. And we'll take a wider separation now of the strap, and inhale will come up and just hang out behind us now. So now, here's the classic way to open up the pec minors in the front of the shoulder capsules. But if you bend your elbows a little bit and look down at your frontal ribs, drop them. See if you can take your mind's eye to the muscles between the lower shoulder blades and even lower. And those are going to become super important. So we already did a little bit of this work up and down, but now with the broader strap, let's try it again. Inhale, launching up. And then exhale, just drop the tailbone, look down, and hang out. And pull against the strap. And this is the best of both worlds because the upper tips of the shoulder blades are fairly open, even though the lower tips are descending. Okay, let's try that strap behind the back now in our hands. And all we do is lift, inhale, and exhale. So again, if I'm PTing, trying to get these extensors, I could do this with a weight bar. The strap is fine. I could do it in isolation. Or, as I start to lift the arms back, I broaden the chest and look up. As I exhale, bend the elbows and curl. So again, the patterns of the shoulder blades tracking together, inhale and exhale, rolling the shoulder points forward. A little bit of tension against the strap. Those that are familiar with rabbit pose can go into it if you want and just plant the head and start to bring the strap straight up to the sky. Inhale and exhale, drop the strap down and come back up. Let's try it again. Lift a little bit, elbows just slightly bent, chest lifts. Now reverse the pattern, curl. Now with a lot of pressure on the head, lift the strap high and find the shoulder capsules hugging in. Tone your core. Inhale, exhale, roll back. The head is the last to come up. Take a peek. Now we're going to do a subtle twist. Inhale, lift. Exhale, drop. Inhale, lift the arms. Now just gently let the arms go right and the head peek left. Inhale, center, and then opposite. Small movement. Only the mid-back and the shoulders are rotating. One more. Inhale to lift the arms. And then exhale, coming up. Release. Downward dog. So your shoulders should start to feel as you launch into your first official downward dog, now that they can expand forward with the same lifting strength that we had lifting the strap overhead. But then on the exhale pattern, to feel the roots of the arms deep in the spine, right behind the shoulder blades.
Let's walk the hands back to the feet. Take a forward fold. And let the shoulders hang from the integrity of the hips. Letting the outer shoulders expand and broaden. The shoulder blades play a part. You can hold opposite elbows. Drop your head. And here you can feel perhaps a little bit more readily the fascia below the shoulder blades heading toward the low back. Let's walk the hands back to our downward dog. See if you can maintain that sense of the extensor muscles under the shoulder blades as you launch. Spread the fingers, spread the toes. Bring the breath up into the chest. Inhale, and then keep sliding the fingers forward, the heels back. Inhale forward to plank pose. And now we find whether we've got shoulder integrity, hugging the upper arm bones into the mainframe of the body. Inhale back to downward dog, exhale, coming forward. So every inhale back is like lifting the strap overhead. So lift the arms forward, forward, over your head. Exhale is like bringing the strap back down to the ground. Pull the palms back toward the feet. Inhale forward and exhale, pull and dig into or integrate the muscles across the shoulder blades. So plank is excellent if it's done well, and the core is also engaged here. Let's come down to hands and knees and sit back. So now, let's see if we can do some more asymmetry. And if we come to hands and knees and simply lift the right arm up and then thread the needle and press that arm into the ground. Inhale, come up, and exhale, rotation. Drop the side of the head, look toward the hand, but instead of trying to get more stretch, push dynamically the back of the hand into the ground. Inhale up, and you can just do this 10 times, and up. And you're strengthening the shoulder capsule. And the extensor coming up, which is a retraction, and then you're stretching dynamically in the twist. So let's try the other side. Inhale, and then exhale, dip. Preferably get the head down, keep the hips square, and push in the static pose, the back of the arm into the ground. Inhale, you're up, and exhale, you're up. So it's nice to flow with these movements and feel the counter patterns of the muscles, because we're going to use them a lot in our yoga practice. So let's think back to a child's pose, just to, again, make sure that the hips are solid. If you prefer, come up to a downward dog. Inhale forward to plank, drawing the belly in, spreading the shoulder blade tips apart, and then coming down. So what if we take this into a little bit more sophisticated motion? We already did the left leg back, and we started to dip. But what if we start to roll open that left hip, come up on the left fingertips, and let the left hip open slightly, pull left belly up to now launch the left arm up. And then exhale, come down, bring the knees together. Slide the right leg back with the toes under. Lift that right belly, lifting the right hip, engaging the muscles along the outer right hip, and that action helps lift the same side shoulder. So now we're going for a little hip and shoulder trip. So again, if I were a PT person, we would be doing this isolated shoulder action, but now we're trying to let the hip help the shoulder. And so that advanced students are already saying, well, this would feel good, lifting the leg up. And so the whole hip and shoulder connection launches you into modified Ardha Chandrasana. The right foot goes back, you start to roll the right hip, it lifts the right shoulder up. There's not a lot of weight on the lower shoulder because the hip and the core are holding it. So you could play with this 20 times. Wow, inhale and the exhale. Guess what? The spine is involved. Here's extension, slight arch, and here's flexion. Huh. I'm just going skating. I don't have any weight except my own body. Okay, so let's sit down in Virasana or take a child's pose. And then we'll just do a few things more before we get to our broomsticks. I feel like one of these game show hosts where I'm teasing you. Our $100,000 prize is coming soon. So we have external rotation, which is the opening out, and we have the internal, which is the too much keyboard. And then we have static, where we're pulling the shoulder capsules into the mainframe. But when we start to extend our arms out, even in a simple move like downward dog, it becomes somewhat problematic for many. So let's play with that a little more. I'm going to take our forearms down, forearms and knees, and we can bring our elbows slightly narrower, but at least to shoulder width, and just start to find a pattern where you can spread the shoulder blades apart. So you're going to look down toward the elbows, or maybe beyond toward the knees, and just rest on the forearms. The palms are turned up to the sky, which rolls the upper arm bones apart. And this, if you've got a tight top of the neck, is a good stretch just to hang out in. But let's press the elbows forward and look toward the hands, inhale, and then exhale. So we're doing this cat and cow now on our forearms. And go easy, because it's a little more direct access into the shoulder capsules now. But you should be able to feel a little more readily the backs of the shoulder blade tips. And if you want to bring your forearms a little bit tighter together, take a peek, and I can drop my head down into the biceps. I can sit back with my hips, keep my thumbs hitchhiking apart, and stretch that fascia of the posterior serratus, which is below the shoulder blade tips. Advanced students could launch up into a dolphin pose in this form. Pressing the forearms forward, the head is dropped and cradled in the upper arms. Come down and clap the palms together, drop the head maybe inside or through the arms, walk the knees back a little, and take a stretch through the triceps. Coming up, place the hands under the shoulders, arch, and downward dog. Again, launch the arms up, 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 overhead on inhale, and exhale, a slight wrapping into the midline. Feel the deep roots of the arms and back. Walk the feet toward the hands, lengthen to a flat back, and fold. Utkatasana, the knees bend, hips integrate, arms come up and release. Let's grab our, whatever you've got
for Broomstick. And if you don't have one, you can just take your towel, make it into a roll or have a strap and be working with it. It's just nice to have a bar. And if you do have one of those exercise bars, it should not weigh more than a couple pounds. So here we go. We'll take the bar in front of us. And all I want you to do at first is just roll the wrists, curl the wrists by pulling the knuckles back toward you. And then reverse roll. So if you have the towel, you can still do it. And so the hand position also is going to give some information to the shoulders. And then if we inhale and lift that bar up to about shoulder width with a towel and sink the knees down, Utkatasana, and exhale, release. Very simple. It's what we started with the strap. How do the arms get lifted? Sinking the hips so we can anchor the low back. Just do about 10. Do a static hold if you wanted to build strength around the shoulder capsule and try to anchor shoulder capsule. And then can you bring the strap way up? Inhale, lift, and exhale, release. So in doing warriors, we're using these muscles, these lifters, the deltoids, in spades. So let's try taking the bar down. I'm going to step the left foot back to warrior one and just do our exercises. So it can be very simple, trying to keep the upper arm bones fairly anchored, or we can lift up and then sink into the pose. When you have the warrior one, pulling against the broomstick or the handle to spread up in the chest and planting firmly into the legs. So you're strengthening around the shoulder capsules to make sure they're not too far launched out of the sockets. And then bring the broomstick forward, step the feet together, drop. Step right foot back, 30 degrees. Again, you can just sit here and play. What's most important is to feel the hips are anchored when you do anything with the arms, and then up you go and down. Sink into the hips and pull against the bar so that the outer triceps are activated. Release the handle down, look forward and hop together. Okay, so we've already done that. Now, what if we do the broomstick behind us? And we drop down into Utkatasana and lift the handle up on inhale and exhale. And we can look down, inhale, like a ski jumper, and then exhale. What are we doing now? All we're doing is starting to engage the muscles a little deeper down under the shoulders. And we take this into some warriors. We step the left foot back, and then we start to lean forward, lift the bar a few inches. Exhale, bring it back down to the back leg. Inhale, pitch forward, lift. Of course, back in the day, this is where the teacher would say, okay, let's see if we can do fallen warrior. Then we come all the way over, curling the wrists. And then uncurling the wrists to pull us back. So if there are advanced students who are here, and this could even be done on your low lunge. You're just dipping, small primary movement, and coming back up. And we're rolling the wrist now, curling the knuckles to engage the back line, and then opening. Or your hard core, but don't fall over. Inhale down, and exhale up. And let's bring the feet together. Do the other side. Step the right foot back. You're going to curl the knuckles inward, and then dip, and then exhale, release. Curl, and it could be very small movement. But if everything's in place, then you can take it deeper. I'm not really looking for an extreme pose, but feel free to play about the cabin if it's making sense. And then we step the feet together. A lot of work in the shoulders. So let's take the broom, just set it aside for a second, and take a wide stance and just start to swing and tap the front of the shoulder capsule with the opposite hand and start to swing the hips and the shoulders. So a lot of this strength work does fatigue the muscles, but you start to realize, and now the backhand can hit right under the shoulder so that you see what I'm doing with the hand. And this is a lot of gear that we get to when we had our broom handle behind us. So now I'm just patting these muscles with opposite hands, getting the rib cage into the motion a little more as we start to think about rotations. So if you didn't have the broomstick, you could just start to take a bigger stance now and just start to swing the arms. And this can feel good for shoulder release. But if you do, now let's take the broomstick behind our backs, right in that area of the mid-back. And I could give myself a back rub by lifting the forearms up, lifting the chest. I lift the armpit ribs like they want me to do in Iyengar. And then exhale, combing, rolling down. So we don't need those sharper image chairs. And I'm massaging from the lower shoulder blade tips to rhomboids. Feels really good. And then as I round, and I'm also working the shoulders in a subtle way. I'm getting a little more retraction as I get informed about those muscles between the shoulder blades and rhomboids coming together. Go easy, and then I protract like so. Can we take this into motion for fun? And I'm going to lift the arms and the elbows up a little, lift the chest, spread it open, up. Exhale, Ardha Utkatasana. So I sink down, just hanging on my elbows, and the dowel of the broomstick is just finding that mid-back. And I step my left foot forward. And I inhale, just float the hands and the elbows up. And I exhale, just like I did before, with the elbow behind us. Now it's a much more subtle movement. And of course, some of you are saying, well, I could probably do this. Take caution. Don't show off. That's my job. Can we open to Warrior Two? And now take the body over to the left side. We still have this tucked position. And then exhale. Just start to counter rotate. So if I'm moving toward Warrior One, inhale and exhale. And all I'm doing is feeling the broomstick against the back body. Now, let's take our front fingers, so it should be the right hand. Let's see if you can, and I don't know if you have the same towel roll I have or broomstick. Just slide that right arm forward with a stick extension. If you don't have the broomstick, you could have the towel your backhand and just launching right arm forward. And let's straighten the front leg and go right into triangle pose. And we can look down, we can bend the front knee, but we're feeling that integration of the arms. And guess what? Now the lower arm is the downside, hugged in, and as we start to rotate, some of us, up toward the sky, the upper shoulder, we're in a twist, we're in an open twist. And then look down, and the front knee, and he'll come up. Okay? So let's come to square. Feet off across Arita. And we still have the towel, or within the hands where we have our broomstick. Inhale at the chest, exhale, just draw. Drop the hips, inhale, come up, and release. Let's try the other side. Coming to the front of the mat, get your broomstick behind you. Again, if you didn't have a broomstick, you could be using the strap within your hands or your towel. And just do a few arch and curls. Just realize I'm not being good with people that don't have the broomstick would look like this. But if you've got this apparatus, you're giving yourself this little fascia release. And then the right foot goes back. And inhale. Just float the elbows like you're just gently lifting up in the cradle of the thoracic cavity. And the shoulders feel pretty good as the hips drop. And you can press back against your broomstick handle just to get connected. So this connection of the arms and the shoulder capsules allows some people to come into advanced poses. And others just to enjoy the connection. Well, let's pivot out to the side, taking the right toes back. And now we come into triangle pose. And if you have the towel roll, you're using it, you've got the broomstick, you're sliding to grab your left hand, that broomstick handle forward, and then starting to dip. If you're going to touch the stick down to the ground, or maybe your shin. And the right arm, the elbow's been hooked under, is getting an opening. Look down, exhale, inhale, come up. Turn left toes parallel to right. And you can do the same thing we did before, lift, curl, or drop that broomstick handle down to your arms now with parallel wide feet, and see if you can start to come over toward the ground. Bend the knees, inhale, curl, come up head last, and release. Okay, let's take the sticks aside for a moment. And once again, just do a little tapping, spiraling, because that's actually a lot of work. Now, one more thing, since we have it. We're going into rotations. We'll start easy, and then we'll start to go a little racer. So we're just going to take that broomstick again, or if you don't have one, and now we're just pitching from side to side. And so part of the shoulder puzzle is what lies below. And so if you're bound up in the fascia of the mid-back, between the shoulder blades, things are tough. So what's happening in rotation, if I simply rotate to my left, is that right arm is trying to pull across, and it opens up the left shoulder cap. So if I go over to the right. That front arm, that left arm is trying to close, and it's pulling open back shoulder. So you can go easy and just feel how the two arms are working. Complementary contrast is what each yoga pose seeks. Complementary contrast. So I have a rotation, I have a counter move against it. Let's release that and come back down for a moment to a forward fold.
And let the shoulders, the head, the neck unwind, and hold opposite elbows again. And then slowly come up.
And we'll just do a couple more standing poses before we start to unwind and do some nice pigeon poses for the shoulders. So without the apparatus, without the props now, let's just stand, feel the shoulder capsules hovering like two clouds over the hips, which would be like two rocks on the earth. And so when you stand, you don't want to affect a posture which is unnatural. Even if your pattern from sitting is the pulled forward pattern, to radically reverse that and throw the shoulders back is just going to stress you out. So by doing some of these exercises now, let's just see if we find a happy neutral. A happy neutral, it could be that your shoulders are one way or the other. And then how does the spine, the muscles of the back that we've been working, how do those affect the shoulders? How do the hips, if you bend the knees just slightly, soften the knees and the hips, how can you just stand normal? Let's try Utkatasana, inhale, and exhale, fold. Left foot back, warrior one now, no drop, and just let the arms float. Again, the natural position of the arms, keep the hands in front of you. So it should feel that just floating arms come to warrior two. Reverse warrior, sink the tailbone down. Now, you're going to place the right forearm on the front knee, and just nod the chin down. Take the left hand to the back of the head. And now we've already worked on opening in many, many ways, but if we include the head now, push the back of the head gently into the left hand and start to look up and back. Now we feel how the head and the shoulder and the pec minor all have to operate together. So go easy. We're creating resistance in the back of the head. And this helps us open this pec minor so that ultimately unleashing the arm forward takes the forehead to the bicep. But only if those muscles are in place. Inhale, come up. Hands to hips, square off. And forward fold. Hands to earth, flat back and fold. Let's do a slight rotation now, the left fingers forward. You can bend the right knee and just track the right fingers back. Just spiral the chest slightly to the right and then bow. Those that want to come into twisting triangle can. But otherwise, let's take the hands forward, the feet together, forward fold. Bend the knees, chair pose, inhale, and exhale, standing. Again, chair, arms floating. So the shoulder capsules having been strengthened, the whole point is now they can just be relaxed and released. And then fold. Right foot back, warrior one again. Now the muscles should be in place over time with work, and then things are easy. Open to warrior two, reverse warrior.
And then we come into side angle, and we're going to take the head down, take the right hand to the back of the skull, and gently start to open the chest to the right, and feel, without too much strain, how the lengthening of the back of the skull, the scapula, and the opening of the pec minor can be aided. And then if you have the muscles in place, open on the front, closed in the back, and your side angle starts to extend. Inhale coming up, and square off to the front. Step the back foot in a little, square the hips, and dive into Parshvanottanasana. The twist starts simple, with the right fingers going forward and the left back, and just drop the head down to the shin, or just drop your chest, your left shoulder onto your bent left knee. Those that want twisting triangle, it's a short trip if everything's in place. And a total disaster if it's not. Hands down, feet together. Forward fold. Uttanasana. It's the ending. And palms to heart. I want to get briefly to one last thing, which could be done with a strap, or if you've forgotten your broomstick or missed it, I'm going to take it, and I'm going to take it down the back like this, right? Now, if you had a strap, you just drop the strap. And then we're going to take the left hand and take it around and grab the bottom of the strap, or we can grab the broomstick and just start to pull that strap of the broomstick apart and lift the chest. So this Gomukhasana, now we're getting a closed pattern in the downward elbow and an open pattern in the upward. So, let's switch. I'm going to take the left hand to the high end and the right hand under. Once you get there in the strap or the pole of your broomstick, you're going to pull the hands apart gently. Okay, release that. And now it's time for some delicious half pigeon lattes. So let's go into our reach up, feeling the shoulder capsules now and the head. How does that feel? Exhale, release. Step back to your plank pose and your downward dog. Try to lengthen out of the shoulder capsules on the inhale, and then integrate on the exhale. Lift that left leg high, roll open the left hip. Remember the work we did on the ground where when you lifted the hip? So you can lift up on your left fingers. Advanced students could start to play with flipping over their dog. That's for the advanced. And then we come back and come into half pigeon. So take a towel, whatever you need, under your left hip. And then we're going to just lay that whole left shoulder on the left knee and drop it. Remember what we just did with our Gomukhasana. And so I want you to feel a closing on the left side. And if you can slide the right arms forward, or reaching a slight spiral to the left. So reaching with the right hand forward, turn your gaze to the left. Feel your sacrum drop to the earth. It's almost as if I were working with a strap or my hands in this Gomukhasana wrap, just to show you the extreme version. Extreme practitioners can thread the right arm across and drop the head down and reach up with the left arm and behind the back to capture the toe. So that's not what you do if you're not super far along or flexible. You'll just damage your front knee. Now we've got the open pattern of the lower arm pushing into the ground and the open pattern of the shoulder. Let's come out of that. Now we're dog. Take a breath. Right leg lifts. Right hip lifts. And remember how we did on hands and knees. The lifting that right shoulder lifts the right hip lifts the right shoulder up. And maybe we spill over. Flip your dog. For those that are missing that. And then we come into half pigeon, a sensible way, with props under the hip. Instead of just diving in, we're going to use the shoulders to slightly rotate. So beginners, even just doing something like moving your hands to the right, pushing back into that hip to anchor it first before you drop into the breakdance move. The next move would be to envision with the strap in the hands, the Gomukasan bind. Final move for those that are quite far along is to thread the left arm across, to reach up to the sky with the right arm, reach behind the back, and you can find that big toe. Finally coming out and bringing the back leg forward, straightening the legs, forward fold. Lay back, sliding your hips forward, arms out, straight from the shoulders, knees bent, and then just drop your knees to the left, head to the right. Inhale to center, drop knees right, head left. And then Shavasana, or any final poses you like. Feel the shoulder capsules and the hip capsules. We did this on Monday. We took the hands to the hip capsules and just placed them there to evoke a sense of groundedness and release. And because we work with the shoulders, you can cross the arms as we did on Monday, I believe, and place the opposite hand on the front of the shoulder capsule. And without trying to vigorously press or force the shoulders down, like a lot of yoga teachers come in Shavasana and try to do this, just give the shoulders a little shake and release. Drop the arms, relax the arms and legs. You're welcome to stay in Shavasana for a while longer, or bend the knees and roll to one side and gently come up to seated, scooping the legs together and closing off class. So check in, hips, shoulders, palms to heart.